All right, the channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Woohoo!
Phew.
I am Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master. I have been the Dungeon Master. I say that because tonight is the finale of our second big campaign. It's a sort of big episode, but where we last left our heroes is having achieved the pinnacle of their great quest by reaching the Titan artifact known as the Pillar, utilizing the machine designed by Kosh, the mysterious dreamlike entity, to see the pillar another way and made it into a monument that can tell all who would come to see it the story of the Titans who existed before the world as you know it now. And that's where we left things off. But for our finale, our players tonight, Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry / Vertigo / Nedrigo.
Questions asked and answered.
Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn.
Good evening.
Jenny Meltzer as Evan Cresseldown.
Hello.
And Starla Hutchton as Carolina Swift.
It's about to be goodbye, friends.
Oh.
So, as I was just alluding to, the pocket protectors, having endured a difficult, strenuous, upsetting occasionally, and draining journey up the peak on the island of Dinethair to the place where the pillar resided, and discovered through the use of this machine the anger and frustration and despair that had been imbued in it by the Titan who once owned it as his world was ending. And you have made it into something where now people, mortals, can come to understand what did come before. And it transformed into a beautiful, incredibly tall fountain with pictographic language running up along the outside of it in a spiraling strip. Something that will no doubt provide a great deal of thesis fodder for the next generation of PhD students or anthropologists or adventure tourists. But as this has happened, you are now still on this peak, but as you kind of look around, you recognize that the weather has calmed. The strange weather phenomenon that kept the peak of this mountain sort of perpetually hidden in clouds and distorted space around it seems to have gone, because the fountain, while it now contains this incredible wealth of knowledge, is no longer the reality distorting Titan artifact that it once was. It has become, perhaps mundane is not really the appropriate word, but non-magical. And so now, as the clouds part, you find that from this point on the peak, you can look down and see much of the island laid out below you. And you see the perimeter fortress somehow almost impossibly feeling much closer than you would have expected. You felt as though you had come a much greater distance than this, and yet you understand that must have, to some extent, been a magical influence, a distortion of this place and within your own minds, but it remains. And so one thing you do also notice, though, looking down, is that there are still here and there these sort of pinpricks of purple light from these tears through to the plane of dream that had been opening up all over the place. And you do see that many of those do remain, but just before you had a chance to even really discuss the fallout from what has just happened, one of those portals seems to open up right in front of you. But it's a little strange. You hadn't really seen one of these open up right in front of you before. So you're not exactly sure if this is what it was always like. But this one, when it opens, looks like someone has just unzipped a tent flap. Like literally, it's as though it just opens from the bottom, and then through it, out of this strange purple light, steps a halfling in sort of leather armor and sort of a big pack on his back. And he is just looking right at you, and he just says, "Hello. You wouldn't recognize me, but I know you. Because you don't know me yet, you think. And I guess you never really met me. Let me introduce myself. I am Chief Ranger Archibald Tanglefoot."
Just kind of collective jaws dropping.
Oh yeah.
Are you the
Yeah.
real Tanglefoot then?
That's a hard question to answer, actually, because I think it would require perhaps a level of understanding and perhaps even a degree of language that we don't fully have to describe exactly what has happened. I can give you sort of the big picture, but as far as the specific metaphysics of it, I think it might take a lot longer to figure all of that out. But I am very glad, at least, that I have reached you at a time where you are not immediately drawing weapons on me. I suppose my not looking like I once did contributes to that. You know, I didn't show up in my other appearance. But here's the basic situation. I, just moments ago, I feel as though I woke up from a terrible nightmare. And there is, in the plane of dream, a sort of existence. Mortals can travel there. I believe you passed through there at least briefly at some point. But what happened to me is that I was drawn there through means that infected me with the perceptions of the pillar. What the pillar saw me as became how I was perceived to others. It twisted my thinking and my appearance, and I was not the only one.
Wait a sec. So you're the same being that we fought?
The one we found in the
Well-
cage, in the bag.
Well, it's a tricky question. This is
But-
kind of what I was
But
getting at.
but you were a twisted version. So you're not. I was thinking maybe that person stole your identity.
Well, so what I can say almost certainly is that the halfling with my name, though I have his personality and memories, I believe that it is almost certainly true that he is dead. And that in the process of that, I don't know if it was his soul or what. Like I said, I am still a little uncertain of the specifics on all this myself. But in the process of being strained through the plane of dream, whatever that essence was that was taken from him became the entity that you knew as Tanglefoot. And now that entity has become me. Am I the same as him? I don't feel the same. But I can say that what he was became what I am.
All right, I'm gonna roll with that.
So what do you want?
I think I didn't even really know until I saw you. Because, like I said, it felt a bit like I was waking up from a dream of my own. And until I saw you directly, it just felt like something I had to do. But I think now, seeing what has become of what was once the pillar, that my awakening must be the result of what you've done here. And for that, I thank you. I don't think that I can resume existence on the material plane. I'm not sure I would want to. I am a creature of the dream plane now. But what I can tell you is that things are different here now. The creatures, like what I once was, flooding out of these portals, wreaking havoc, scaring people, hurting people. I can't promise that there is none of that that remains, but much has been transformed, and so I would urge you to not jump to conclusions. What you have done will have a profound effect on both of our planes. And what that will be in time is not yet clear. Maybe all of these tears in reality will just gradually heal, like wounds that can close once the infection is gone. But maybe there can be a new relationship between the material plane and the plane of dream.
I think we should very much like to explore that. At least speaking for myself, I would be interested in maybe getting a new relationship going. Because the one we've had has, well, really been kind of horrible.
I don't want to jump to too many conclusions, as you suggested, including truly accepting what you've said. The Tanglefoot we dealt with was able to assume many shapes and many forms and make a lot of very fancy words for people, and caused a lot of chaos. but they had a purpose. They were trying to do something, but it was unclear exactly what that was.
The two of you are closer together in your thoughts than you might realize. When you say that the relationship between the plane of dream and the material plane was not a good one, I imagine that you are speaking of nightmares, bad dreams had by people on the material plane and then become manifest through these tears in the fabric. But I would also encourage you to understand that the plane of dream is what the material plane makes of it. If the plane of dream is full of nightmares, it is because it is the nightmares of the material plane. So, though your dreams of us trouble you, it is those dreams that trouble us. It is a paired relationship. And I think because I knew you, I was able to speak directly. It is not going to be always the case that entities coming through these tears will be able to communicate clearly. As for you, your suggestion that the entity I once was used means of shape-changing and deception to bring about nefarious goals, that is certainly true. There was an attempt to create enough havoc and chaos in the material plane that the two realms would become one. This was not a rational plan, but what is in dreams. I wished to speak with you, not because I have any authority to tell you what you should do, but because I did want to thank you for restoring to me a sense of what I once was, what I could have been. And to let you know that you have done something and the world as you know it will be different now. How remains to be seen.
Hopefully
that's-
better.
That's what happens when you change things. Things change.
Hard to argue.
Yeah.
But
How much do you know of the history of the nightmares of old, which seem to have spiraled out of control to create this whole reaction from the pillar?
the history is a story told by many different perspectives. The energy created by the lingering malevolence of the Titans who perished here was, from one perspective, a source of a sort of psychic poison that infected the material plane. However, it was in fact the material plane that caused the destruction of the world of the Titans. And it was the misunderstanding and lack of knowledge of the mortal plane that manifested as monsters and evil within the plane of dream. And it became, alas, a cycle whereupon each passing revolution just deepened the enmity. It is unlikely that that cycle has been completely broken, but at the very least, you might say, if ever so briefly, the merry-go-round has stopped. Now, I can't say that I understand everything myself yet, but I think what it drove me to when I awoke was the need to let you know that the Tanglefoot you knew is no more. And if you do not wish him to return, then I would ask that you do not fear that he will.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing that we're not trying to kill each other anymore.
I agree, especially because I'm not actually sure if I can die. Let's not test it.
I mean, I know someone we could probably ask, but yeah.
It is something that may be yet to be discovered, for through the realm of dream, there is connection to what lies beyond. The realms are not so distinct as we may sometimes believe. But for now, you have done great work, and now there is great opportunity within your world and mine. What will become of it will depend now on what you do, what we do, what they do, and kind of gestures off into the distance.
So, what do you intend to do yourself? Not necessarily everyone else, obviously.
Well, you know, I've always thought it would be fun to learn to fly. And then he kind of just salutes and steps back through the tear, and it zips back closed again.
Well, it's good to have realistic goals, I guess.
Well, I don't disagree with him about the flying part.
I mean, I've heard weirder goals, so whatever.
Do you
Can we
all
go
think
home now?
that,
I'm really tired.
do you think that was really him, it, that?
It calls into question what that entity was in the first place, and I'm yeah, I'm just gonna roll with it. I mean, I have a list of things, and Tanglefoot, I'm just gonna draw a line through that as resolved.
I I can only assume that when the original Tanglefoot went exploring with the Reclaimers, they encountered something that absorbed them, I guess? Became them? Is them again, sort of? Huh.
Uh, I don't know, but I feel lighter I mean, I really wanted to kill that guy since the very beginning. Didn't like it.
He was rather annoying and evil.
And wouldn't die permanently. That never sat right with me.
Hmm. What then of the others? There were others of their kind that were out there that we encountered. Who were they?
Some questions maybe won't ever get answered.
Oh, please never say that to me again.
I mean, do you really want to know everything?
Do you really have to ask that question? I would think the answer to that one would be obvious.
So we haven't learned our lesson. Okay. But I really need a nap. I'm so tired. It's been a long day, guys.
It's been several, depending on how you look at it.
But I think it was worth it.
Well,
I think so too.
we're here still. The world still exists. Hopefully better than when we found it. Pocket
Yeah.
secured. We don't really have a fast way home, though. I can probably see if my dragon is available.
Oh, we do have a fast way home.
Do we?
We do.
Oh.
I did the what is it? Word of recall spell?
Oh. We haven't really used that before. Wasn't exactly
Nope.
certain what the parameters were for that.
I had to set it up beforehand, and as soon as you guys are ready to go home,
I miss
I-
Sonia.
next stop, Sunya de on Torbello. Are we agreed?
It'd
Evan?
be nice to see it again for a
Yeah,
while.
I'm just following where you go.
Oh, I think you stopped doing that a couple of days ago. But I hear you. All right. I click my heels 3 times and say there's no place like home and
Did we
cast
pick
the
up the
spell.
tower, by the way?
I think it got like destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But we left Buster behind. I was just trying to think of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Buster was not
Okay.
in the tower.
Okay, good.
So where, Zinhorn, where in Sunia did you set this recall? Was it
On
right
the
there?
roof.
On the roof.
You know, someplace that's generally not occupied all the time, so that we don't have to worry about
Mhm.
spawn fragging.
I'm halfway through a wall. Ow, ow.
I don't know if that's possible with this spell, but it's nice to be the one to teleport the rest of y'all home.
So I think, was this the first time you actually used this spell to teleport everybody?
This
What
is the
does it
first
feel
time.
Yeah.
like? What is it? So what is the experience of this magical divine transport?
Um, it sort of feels like we just drop into the ground and we're traveling through solid rock, and then a moment later or a day later, it's hard to tell time when you're traveling through solid rock. We just pop up out of the stones on the roof of Sunya and just go free.
I think up there on the roof of Sunya is Brennan, Sorashana, and Sequential that are kind of sitting at a little table, like in the corner of the roof, and they all immediately jump, startled, uh, or rather, Sequential and Brennan certainly do, sort of just like, whoa, jeez, because they just came out of nowhere. But Sorashana seems completely unperturbed, and is just, as soon as you're there, she comes over and she just is immediately gathering all of you into a hug.
Aw.
Aww.
Good to see you too.
Um, you realize as she's hugging you that there's a there's some complexity in this hug, right? There's glad to see you. There's glad you made it all back. There's some relief in it, but you sense too that there's some loss. You realize that she's shaking a little bit as she hugs you.
Did you feel it? Do you still?
Did you lose Kosh?
He flew away. And I think I knew he always would. But what will I dream about now?
Many things.
There's a whole plane to explore.
She looks at you when you say that, and her eyes kind of well up, and she just says, "That's what Kosh said too." You did it. And she just pulls you into the hug again. At this point,
Thunderstep.
there's a little bit of a because Brennan and Sequential are there too, and of course Sunia just says, "You're back, you're back. Everything just felt like the sun came out from behind clouds somehow. Does that mean you did it?"
Well, we did something, and I think was a good thing. We'll see. I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing.
I think we did something big and something very good.
It'll be different.
So I think we can probably sort of fade down to the receiving room down on the lower level, and we have everybody there sort of gathered. Everyone in the currently traveling on Sunia. You've got Yobert, of course, and Curity, and can't forget Valor, Curity's counterpart to Sunia. There as well, and Brennan and Sequential and Sorashana, and I believe we had left Talitha and the others. Were they still here, or did they were off helping?
I
with
think they were at the
other-
temple, weren't
Yeah,
they?
that's right. They were going to the temple. Yeah. So in any case, though, I think you've got the main group here, and we'll just imagine a brief montage of you all telling the story of everything that has now happened. I would invite each of you to give just a little bit of a detail of some part of the story that you're sharing with them.
Oh, I would probably talk about what is it, the mind blank spell?
Hmm.
And just how much power that felt like, and it was how strange it was to feel that coming from within rather than like pulling from an outside source or manipulating outside energies, and kind of the effects of that. I think it'd be something that I talked about a little bit.
I would talk about finally getting the thoughts in my head out right and de-escalating a fight instead of causing one with
Mm,
that bird construct warrior.
mhm.
You mean after you started that fight?
Exactly. Yes.
How noble of you to start a fight and then de-escalate it. Good job.
I
But
mean,
that was
it did
kind
not
of my
seem
goal
like
to
Progress.
start with. I'm just really bad at it. And I kind of think, I got better by
Baby
the end of
steps.
it.
the guy in charge there was not gonna not fight you.
Yeah, but
But he might have talked more beforehand. Anyway. How about yeah, yeah. Oh, it can be anything. Don't have to be too precious about it. Just a little montage of telling the story.
I think because this is sort of the second time
Mm-hmm.
that Nedry's touched minds with a Titan,
Hmm.
and he's still kind of coming to grips with the scale of that,
Yeah.
the flood of memory and the flood of ideas, and the deep sorrow, but also the sense of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of talking, probably interrupting himself several times as he tries to both explain the magimathical theory behind a lot of this, and also the potential for understanding the Titan in the end,
Mm.
which is really what it needed, was to be understood and respected in that way. So kind of vacillating a lot between the highly technical and the weirdly almost emotional understanding that he's come to understand a little bit, um, or they come to accept a little bit.
I'm just briefly flashing on the movie A Serious Man, which is a Coen Brothers movie, where just trying to think, like the shortest version I can give here, it doesn't require a lot of context, is that there's a scene where this character who's trying to figure out why bad stuff keeps happening, but he's also like a theoretical physics teacher, and so he's having kind of a dream where we watch him finishing a long, complicated equation on a chalkboard, and it pulls back to realize it's one of those big lecture halls with like 200 square feet of blackboard and the various stages, and it's all filled with this complicated math. And he's basically saying, and so the uncertainty principle basically proves without a doubt that you can't really ever understand what's going on. But in any case, yes. So I was just imagining our little sort of movie montage of telling the story, and how like you go and you break out like the chalkboard and you're trying to like draw lots of equations and like say see, and everyone's like
There'd be a lot of use of the Periton pen and some minor
Yeah.
illusion and drawing some things out. But yeah,
yeah.
it's
I think Sequential's probably following a lot of it. He's been studying this stuff too.
probably
in his way.
Sorashana as well from a different perspective. But
Yeah, she's grasping it more intuitively, less about like the equations, so to speak.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Evan?
I think because this was the biggest of all of the adventures that he actually got to go on, he's just sort of like standing back and listening to everybody else talk. And then he's just all like, I need to go see my mom. Because he's still like on that whole thing where it was like, your
Mhm.
mother's gonna die, So
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just kind of like, I need to go see my mom.
Because it was a long time ago, I will just remind everyone that way back when you first met Evan, it's because he had been hired to spy on you by Nelson Devereaux, the friend of the Emperor, who you eventually came to ally with, but were hostile to at the time because you weren't sure what his deal was. But basically, you persuaded / intimidated Evan that he should join you because now that he had come this far, he knew too much. He couldn't go back. He had to go off the grid. And so I don't know, Evan, that you have contacted anybody from home, including your mom, since that day.
I don't even think I said goodbye to her. I think we were like, sneak off in the middle of the night. We gotta go because those pods were like coming in.
Yeah.
So I probably never even said goodbye to her. She's probably
Mhm.
sent out, search parties and all kinds of stuff.
I think it's possible, given that the pocket protectors have achieved some level of notoriety, that she might have heard some things about you. But it sounds like not from you, though.
No, definitely.
Mhm.
I think because he had like brushes with death, and I mean, he was dead, and he's just kind of like, what do I even say to her at this point? Like, she's
Mhm.
never gonna forgive me.
I'm
But
gonna
now
like
that
pat Evan on the shoulders, like, it's okay, I'll help you.
okay,
Well, you
I
could go
just
upstairs and just contact them. We do still have, I believe, the sending pods.
Some things are better done in person.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, she is my mom.
Mhm.
I'm her, like I was her whole world. So I think I kind of owe her that much. Plus, she's never going to believe this.
Mhm.
I mean,
what if we show
I
up at
must
the
have.
castle? Will that help?
We have a castle. Well, I mean, maybe.
We're in the castle.
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, we're all kind of proof, so if we go with, she's less likely to try and murder him, I think.
Yeah, I
You're the
think
people
it's
who kidnapped my son.
Borrowed him, we brought him
Mommy!
back.
She probably won't even recognize him. He's coming in all
Look,
goth and
he's
buff
only
now.
The eyeliner.
he's only died a couple of times.
He just
He's
joined a cult,
He
it's
fine.
got
fine.
better.
Lightly scratched.
I got
Yeah.
better. Oh,
So,
yeah, so that's where he's at.
right. So I think here is the point where rather than stick with a moment by moment narrative here, I think we can zoom out a little bit time wise. Meaning, I'm not immediately saying cut to 30 days later or something like that exactly. But that we're going to have a phase here that's a little bit more like you tell me who you want to check in on, and we can sort of check in on them and either just do sort of a light, here's what they're up to, or we can role play any part of that that you would like to. But before we jump to that, everyone, feel free to ask a question in just a moment. But before we jump to that, I think that once everybody sort of turns in for your long rest, you all find that you have extraordinarily vivid dreams that night, and I would like each of you to tell me what you dream about. And it can be anything you want, whatever you think your character might dream about.
Zinhorn dreams about a house in the woods and um uh, a family, and their faces are not clear, but um just like a very mundane kind of day, you know, going out hunting with Buster and, you know, bringing back deer and, you know, going and helping neighbors and, you know, just fixing things, sewing clothes, fixing a fence. Just uh, uh, good solid, you know, day and coming home tired and going to bed.
I think Lynn is dreaming, and there are a lot of memories,
Hmm.
primarily about Zaline, because that's a whole thing.
Mhm.
She's still dealing with it.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, walking through, you know, funny conversations or quiet moments, or I think probably, and I don't think it would be the last thing that she dreamt of, but was the moment she left.
Mhm.
But still not feeling like it was the end, because that's not the nature of who she is now.
Oddly enough, I think that Evan dreams about Sorashana
Mhm.
because he spent a lot of time with her
Yeah.
when everybody else was off adventuring and he was just kind of left behind on the in Sunya and helping out Sequential. So
Mhm.
I think that they spent time together, and I'm not saying they got all close or anything like that, but I think that he kind of sees himself in her now that she's lost Kosh, because he kind of felt like that about Zaleen.
Mm.
And now he's like subconsciously seeing them as sort of like kindred spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little sister.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's someone he'll be able to relate to, and maybe they can help each other like get through the weird separation of something that you kind of made your entire world for a while.
Hmm.
Hmm. I think Nedry dreams about the different teachers he's had, um, including um, both the master he was studying under,
Abjurer Argus Finster, you mean?
Finster, yes, yeah, but even Tinthus and a few others
Yeah.
too. That
Mhm.
that each time he learned something new from them. The adversary, even,
Yeah.
uh, and then thinks back to kind of some of his early learning about how he didn't fit in with the family because they're all tinkerers and he couldn't figure out a cog from a screw. Um, and then he wakes up with a new name on his lips.
Ooh.
And he starts to refer to himself slightly in the third person. He's still dissociating somewhat slightly.
Yeah.
Um, but he calls himself Equitas,
Ooh. Equitas.
which kind of comes to mean balance.
Okay. Cool. Let's see if I can. Here, I can adjust your. I can update your little name tag on the stream here. Is that just EQUITAS?
Yep.
All right. All right. So, do you tell everybody that that's the thing, or you just sort of start referring to yourself that way and rely on people to figure it out?
I think occasionally he would gently correct someone and said, "Please, my name is Equitas." Just something simple like that, not a major demand or anything. I think at this point, at least the core group is kind of used to
Yeah.
his change. But there's also a
Mhm.
calmness in his demeanor which hasn't been there for a long time.
Hmm.
Whatever fragmentation had been happening seems to have settled somewhat. Um, yeah, I think
Okay.
that's kind of where it happens. And it is kind of, for him, the most vivid part is it really feels like a series of school lectures. Like there's instead of him being on stage this time, it's all of the teachers with each of their good and bad lessons that he takes away from and kind of summarizes all of that as he works through it all. And that includes Kosh, and it does include
Hmm.
the pillar as well, actually, as teachers.
Yeah.
Even Solomonia gets a moment.
I am curious if Nedry has come to understand the shell game a little better. Excuse me, Equitas.
It's. I think he understands it intellectually. He still doesn't understand why it works. He didn't grow in wisdom, but I did put points in charisma.
Lovely. So I think part of everybody is waking the next day comes with just about everybody on the tip of their tongue saying, wanting just like, so I had the weirdest dream last night. It was so vivid, and then pretty much everyone realizing that seems kind of like maybe everyone did.
Plane of Dream is likely reasserting itself to what it should be, free from outside influence except for that which we give it.
Mhm. All right. So, as I mentioned now, it's a little bit more freeform. We can kind of jump around in time a little bit. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I have a question. I want to know who's in charge now that the Emperor's dead. What happened? Because that was chaos.
It absolutely was. And so I think that so do you think that you all would be returning to Pashan with any urgency, or are you just like checking in, you're communicating?
We probably talked to Ivy.
Yeah.
Because she's got the sending
Oh,
stone,
sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, so you definitely can check in with her. You have plenty of contacts that you could reach them to find out. I guess the distinction is just like, are you hearing from someone who's there, or are you going there?
I I think we're gonna stay where we are for the moment because I did want to do something else while we were in Denethor. Or
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think at least what you can hear first and what you would continue to glean, because I'm sure you stay in contact, because there's the immediate, right? But then there's also the happens over the next couple of days. Where do things seem like they're starting to go? And this is why I mentioned that we're not going to necessarily be doing a moment by moment always, right? So we can kind of jump back and forth a little bit as necessary. But so I think what you reach out and Ivy is just utterly thrilled to finally hear from you. It's obviously there's been so much going on, and I rather understand that we have all of you to thank for what seems to be a rather stupendous reversal of fortune. And by which I mean to say that things seem vastly improved from the perspective of all of these tears to the plane of dream. They seem as though they have not dissipated, but they are no longer the flood of negative energy and literal monsters that they were before. There are things that still come through, but they feel rather more ethereal, less aggressive. There's not monsters in quite the same way, not at least in the numbers that there were before. All of Solomonia's guard that they had left behind here in Pashan have received new orders, I'm told. They've been told that there's no longer a need for them to stay all within Pashan for Pashan's protection, but rather that they may seek out the darkness wherever they find it to bring the light to dark places. But it does mean that their presence in the city is gradually lessening, it would seem.
Well, not sure if that's a good or a bad thing. Guess we'll find out.
there are still a number of quite a many people here in the city, though, that do thank Empress Solomonia for the protection that she unambiguously did provide to us here in the city during that whole ordeal. And of course, it should be. I hope you all understand that the devotees of Empress Solomonia are calling you her champions. Now, of course, I've traveled with you. I know you quite well. I understand that to be a rather complex relationship. But it does appear, though, that at the very least, the Solomonian faction does regard you all as heroes to be lauded, even if they do claim some amount of credit for your success. But there are still some significant political divisions that we have not fully overcome here. Now, you do, of course, recall that the emperor, now departed, was always not entirely a figurehead, but he did have his council that made all of the primary administrative sorts of decisions, shaped by his vision, but largely operating independently when he did not intervene directly. And so there is some discussion of perhaps, does the empire need to have an emperor, or is the council sufficient? Are there ways to have these council members chosen by experts or various factions, or even by the people themselves? These are all things under discussion. But it is, as I mentioned, there are quite a number of people who do believe that Solomonia is most directly responsible for helping to protect the city. And there are some murmurings in some communities that by intervening as directly as she did, Empress Solomonia may have destabilized some of the planar balances. It is understood that typically deities from the upper and lower planes did not directly intervene as such, for the specific reason of maintaining a sort of cosmic stalemate that may have been disrupted some. What that means exactly has been positive for Pashan in the short term.
I mean, one could argue that, forces from the Shadowfell were having a little bit of influence as well, but I'm not going to get involved in politics.
Well, I not particularly keen to get involved with the politics myself. I've actually been speaking to the friend of the emperor, although I suppose he might need a new title soon, what? But I've been asking if I might lead Pashan's first formal expedition to this new monument that has been created on Dineth there. I imagine that there is a great amount of rebuilding necessary to be done there on the island, and that perhaps there can be some degree of cultural exchange to take place during this rebuilding period.
I think it would definitely pass the stone to Equitas. It's like, this is all you.
Hello, who is the party to whom I'm speaking?
It's me. Who's Equitas? Is that you, Nedry? Vertigo? Nedrigo?
Ivy. Yes, you can call me Equitas. My name is changed to suit the stage, I suppose.
Well, I can't even really pretend to be shocked. It has rather been a feature of our time together.
I'm glad you noticed. I didn't know what you were noticing.
Well, I was down there in the moon-shadowed sea with you, after all. I was
true.
paradise for a while, remember?
I do. I do very much so.
Hmm.
Did I hear someone say something about making a trip to the monument?
Well, I'm briefly eliding the idea that you must have told her what was going on. So, I rather think that this monument is something that I would be very keen to study. After all, before my engagement with your group, I had done quite a bit of planar traveling myself, and now the idea that we could study the history of the Titans, even without having to travel to another plane, because of course I guess they form a bedrock of sorts of even all the planes that we know.
Uh, Indeed, there will be a lot to learn. It'll take quite a considerable amount of time to study it. Do you know when you might be going to the monument? I've made an idea. I think I'm going to be there at some point for a while.
I would love to see you there. We've got the plans in the works, but I am sure that by the time I know more, you will be the first person I tell.
I appreciate that. Wherever I am, it should only take me 2 days to get there, so
Really?
uh, I might have to go through another plane or two to get there, but it's indirect. But
So easy to forget how powerful you've all become.
oh, it's nothing, really.
Oh, don't be. You know what? I was about to say don't be faux humble, but I know it's genuine with you. So I guess what I should just say is you've come so far, and I am proud to have known you in.
I'm not entirely different from who I've been. I'm just more so. It's been a rather confusing journey at times. I look forward to telling you more about it in person.
It's a date.
He just hangs up.
That was adorable.
I may have a few things I need to discuss with you, Lynn, about everything.
I got you.
How do you talk to girls?
I'm an awesome wingman.
Yes. So to I guess expand on that a little, at least in the immediate short term, a lot of the political structure is not yet fully settled, but it does appear that Solomonia's direct intervention in the material plane is pulling back somewhat, and that all of the new clerics and paladins she created have not lost their power, but they're also not being asked to stay within Pashan for its protection anymore, because that appears to no longer be necessary. So now they are serving her wherever they see fit. Maybe they get direct instructions from her. You would have to ask them.
So it didn't turn into a theocracy while we weren't looking.
Not yet, but there are certainly people who wouldn't mind that still happening. But at the very least, it does not appear that Solomonia is directly putting her thumb on the scale for that outcome. But just the same, for a lot of people there were a lot of scary, potentially world-ending things happening, and they were made safe by the sudden appearance of a lot of Solomonian clerics and paladins who protected them and their city, and then their claimed champions have now saved the world, saved the cosmos. So there's a lot of people who think, why wouldn't we put them in charge?
I think we're going to need new business cards.
Not necessarily you all in charge, I should say, but why wouldn't we put people who serve Solomonia in charge? That's not to say that it would be rebuffed if any of you showed an interest in running for Emperor's Council.
Yeah, no, nobody wants this. No.
Politics is
Yeah.
not
I
really.
would
Not a
run
good
for
idea.
emperor.
Honestly,
I think as again as we're allowing time to get a little bit elastic here, I think part of this discussion of the political situation and everything back in Pashan does include Yobert, whose reputation now as the sponsor for a lot of really direct and obvious ways of the pocket protectors, sometimes still being called the pocket titans. Um, his reputation is pretty substantially booming. People want to do business with him. People want to associate with him. He's getting a lot of invitations that he stopped getting for a while. His family has briefly reached out to see if he is interested in sort of rejoining the family businesses, and he's thinking that maybe you say people are going to form a new council. Maybe that's something he would be interested in.
I
I
would support that.
I would as well, but I would also challenge Lynn to think about going for the council because they need changeling representation in government. It's a huge step, and I think it's something you should think about.
I think I would like to do something smaller for a little while, at least.
Oh, I understand the calling to that particular feeling. I want you to see that right now, if you ran, you're pretty much a shoe-in as one of the pocket titans. I know Nedry never really liked the name Pocket Protectors, so I'm ready to go with the new name. But um, you know, sometimes yeah, doing the smaller things isn't always in the cards. And seeing as you're one that's holding the deck right now,
Well,
um,
speaking of,
yeah, um,
Mm-hmm.
this might be a good time to really, you know, focus on making sure that, uh, you know, uh, your adopted people, as it were, um, uh, get a better chance than, a lot of others.
I'll think about it.
Something to consider.
Mm-hmm. When you kind of started that, I was suddenly thinking of Fellowship of the Ring when Pippin shows up and says, "You need people of intelligence on this sort of mission quest thing."
Why are you asking me?
Yeah. Yeah. But in any case, so I think that, a lot of those discussions are kind of happening in the background for whatever else is going on. It sounded like Evan was keen to go to Gorn promptly. Is that maybe but then again, you're starting in Dinuther, so it's a question of like, is everybody staying together on Sunia to go somewhere, or you all have the magical means that you could have little day trips out here and there without necessarily needing to fly the castle everywhere directly.
Well, I would like to just check in on the rebels, make sure they're doing okay, and maybe go back to that house where I lost my freezing drill spear. I
Yeah.
mean, just it fell in the water. I mean, it's
I was
heavy.
just waiting for that.
It should still be there. I'd like to see if it is or if somebody picked it up. And I could do the word of recall spell, and Sunya could head toward Gorn, and then we could catch up with her tonight or tomorrow.
Well, so Rebels first, you reach out and of course the leader of this rebel cell that you had spoken with was Placer, which was an enormous sort of displacer beast type construct. And they tell you that basically there was some additional conflict, but they witnessed from a distance. They mostly stayed out of the way as the headquarters of the construct makers was basically obliterated by the sudden formation and like theft of many of their large constructs in the assembly of the destroyer Colossus, which then proceeded to stomp its way through the city, producing a whole lot of destruction and flight from the city, which had already kind of suffered quite a lot. And so the city is in pretty rough shape. And although they did have some skirmishes with some of the people who were fleeing the city, but didn't choose to flee to the mainland, but flew, went out into the island itself. And although there were some skirmishes from people who still saw them as the enemy, they actually also ended up spending most of their time and resources helping people who were kind of refugees and, making sure that people were, able to survive having to be away from their previous homes and safety. And now that it seems like the primary conflict is over, they're committed to going back now to rebuild the city and to help as it rebuilds to keep it from just going right back into the hands of the sort of people that made it so terrible to begin with. Because there are, of course, the head of the snake, so to speak, of the construct makers was cut off, but that doesn't mean that they were all gone. And the magic that they used is still effective, right? Like it still works. There wasn't anything that just made it stop being able to be done anymore. But there is nonetheless, there's been a lot more communication around to have more and more people kind of understand the nature of those contracts that they make. And so the idea that they will have the same sort of a captive labor force and the leverage of the nightmare invasions to try to use to force people into that situation, they're going to have a much tougher go of that. But nonetheless, in order to try to make sure that that doesn't, rise right back up again, they're going in to try to just be more centrally located while the rebuilding takes place. As for the siphoners, there's not really any obvious sign of massing in numbers or organization in the way that there once was. But you do still hear about them sometimes, but they've more become the sort of like, if you're walking on the streets at night, don't do it by yourself, like they're kind of like a cryptid now, as opposed to a large scale organized threat.
So many
moving on.
snakes, so many heads cut off.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like you got to keep fighting the good fight, right?
Yep.
You don't ever win anything permanently. You have to keep doing it every day.
True.
Yeah. When you return to that little lake by that workshop where you had left your freezing drill spear, you're struggling to find it at first, and then eventually I would imagine one of you uses like a detect magic spell to try to ping it or locate item maybe eventually.
Yeah,
and you
locate
discover
object.
that it has been incorporated into a large beaver dam.
Aha.
Mhm.
Well, as long as the beavers don't give me any gruff, I won't have Buster help me pull it out.
You're
I
level
mean, the beavers
20
are not
cleric
going
at
to
this
be
point.
supportive of this plan. I'm
I
not
know.
saying you can't get it. I completely understand. I'm not trying to suggest any specific thing, but the beavers are not in favor of you taking it out of their dam.
No, probably not. Do I have any kind of way to speak with animals? I have animal handling.
Yeah.
I have really good animal handling.
Oh yeah, you sure do. Tell me, so like how did what I know you can roll a die and add a big number to it, but tell me what
Hmm.
you're actually like doing. What whatever this roll you're making is, what actual action does that represent?
Um, that I'm trying to extract it and at the same time replace it with um another stick
Mhm.
and repair any damage and just kind of communicate that this is mine and I'm taking it
Mhm.
with Buster like standing in the background.
Okay.
Um, it's like you don't try messing with me and I won't cause any more problems.
Okay. So I think that we're going to have two roles here. One is animal handling, of course, which is just your ability to manage the beavers themselves. But also we need another role for your ability to pick up sticks, this spear out of this dam. Um, so I think you want to try to. I think there's a number of skills that theoretically could apply. Do you want to try to pitch me on what skill you think would be appropriate for just the physical replacement of another stick
Athletics.
for that spear? Athletics, you think so?
Yeah,
All
just,
right.
it's a kind of a strength
Sure.
based thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, why is it not?
I don't have the roll 20 up, so you'll just have to tell
Oh,
me whatever the result is.
it was a 28 on the animal handling,
All right. Yeah.
and on the athletics, it was a 19.
Okay. I think that you are able to retrieve the spear without too much difficulty, but that 28, like, what is it that the beavers are seeing that makes them so cooperative with you being very physically disruptive to something they worked very hard
Um, they are seeing that I am being careful
on? Mm-hmm.
with the dam and that I am not um uh like I'm replacing other things and helping to make it stronger,
Mm-hmm.
while at the same time seeing that I am very strong. I'm moving big logs by myself,
Mm-hmm.
and there is an enormous six-eyed monster
Mm-hmm.
giving them the stink eyes behind me.
Okay.
And so I'm being nice,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have to be. Or I'm being nice, you be nice too, and there's like a really scary guy here too.
Mm-hmm.
Can I incite a beaver riot?
I was just gonna say the tale that these beavers pass on to their beaver children will be of the time that they met a titan. You know, and they couldn't completely understand it or even really comprehend what its life or wants or communication was, but it radically transformed their home, and their lives will never be the same.
But
But
I
you got
got
your
my
spear
spear
back.
back.
Yeah.
Is it all like rusted and beaver chewed? It
No,
has to be, please.
I think it is it's magical, so I don't think it has like bite marks or anything on it, but like I do think it was sort of like crusted up with mud and beaver fur and you know.
Oh, I'm taking it to sequential and we're gonna get it all polished up and then I'm
Mhm.
gonna take it to Sticky Zicky to have him check it out and make sure everything's still working fine.
In
Very
the back of
nice.
my head, I just hear Zaylene being all like, we could have just bought another one. Didn't have to get that one.
You know, they're sentimental about you.
There is. It got me through a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, anything else that you would be taking care of in Dina there before you return back to the mainland?
I mean, if we're hanging out for a little while, I will expend all the healing magic that I can to help people make some food and water
Mm-hmm.
to help ease
Sure.
the burden.
So you can certainly do a great deal in that way. I think you kind of understand that you've made a lot of people's today better. This is going to be a much longer term project ultimately, which is not
Mhm.
to say that what you've done in today isn't very helpful. It's just that it's a drop in the bucket of what's going to ultimately be needed, which is a much longer term investment.
Mhm.
But still, people are they see you helping. They're appreciative. There's a lot of people who are very scared about what's going to happen next, but you've given them some hope, some comfort.
I would like to also offer comfort in the way of your dead are taken care of. Like all the people you lost are in a better place, and
Yeah.
you shouldn't, be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Bring out your
Be in
dead.
place.
Bring out your
Yeah.
dead.
Bring them out.
Not dead yet.
He's a lich. Get him.
Is he as heavy as a duck? I'm curious about our original Denetherians,
Mm-hmm.
Tilitha and the rest. One of the things we never really identified was what happened to their village after they left, because there was a lot sort of centered around the place that
Mhm.
they'd started, and we never really knew. Of course, much time had passed, so
Yeah.
that village could be gone or
I mean, the
transformed.
city was basically built up from that site.
Okay. And whether they wanted to remain on Dinethir
Mm-hmm.
or whether they wanted to leave it until perhaps it had become more hospitable.
Well, I mean, you could certainly ask them. I would imagine that you would have had the opportunity to communicate with them where they had gone to the temple as previously discussed. There was a lot of like sort of dangerous magic left over there, and especially kind of cleaning up what may or may not be still necessary there. But also, now that the situation may have changed, maybe they wouldn't mind going home.
To at least get them informed and see what they
Yeah.
wanted to do now that things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to look out for are the Pillarines, to see
Mhm.
how they've transformed or left or whatever.
You really don't find any sign of any of them. You're not entirely sure how that all went down. Certainly, the last of them that you saw were sort of engaged in this whole fight with, you know, the dream creatures like Tanglefoot.
Mm-hmm.
But what has become of them since? Did any of them survive? They've kind of just disappeared. I think speaking with Tilitha and Trenadol and Rupano, um, I think that they are definitely moving slower than they were. You can sense that there's a little bit of they've been holding on for a long time. And now they're maybe, it's not like they're circling the drain, but there's a recognition that maybe they can take their time now. And there's a feeling that there is, so they want to make sure that they don't leave dangerous items in the temple, but that the temple previously had been all about trying to maintain this protection to keep people from possibly disrupting the bubble around Dinuther, right? And that the whole purpose behind their original design of the temple is moot now. And so I think that they are determined to leave it back to a more proper temple to the spirit of Marushka, who is able, hopefully now, in the ways that great spirits can, maybe able to start kind of healing from all that was done. Can she actually successfully reincorporate the two parts of herself? Maybe it's hard to know if that can really still happen or not, but at the very least, they can have the temple represent all of her now instead of just the part that people of Sekamian knew about. But I think their plan is after they finish there, they do want to return to Dinuther, if only just to see it one more time, because after all, they didn't want to leave. They just felt like they had to.
Yep.
Yeah. So, does Evan go back to Gorn?
Yep.
Is
And
everyone
as he
going?
does,
Oh yeah.
no, go ahead.
I was just asking who else is going.
Oh, I think we should all go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, fly the castle right there.
Mm-hmm.
Make
I
an
think
entrance.
that as he gets there, it feels so small now.
Mm,
Like he feels like, how did I ever live here? This is just.
Well, I have to imagine just even flying and watching it from the roof of Sunia, just seeing it from above like that, just like, look, there's all the places that I ever knew, and they're all just like, just right there and right there and right there. It seems like, yeah, it's not that big a place.
Yep. So weird. Yeah. And I think like as soon as we find a place to land, like he just walks like normal. He doesn't rush because it's like it's kind of weird being back here after the last 3 weeks we were gone.
I think you're all, unless you're taking steps to avoid this, you're probably gathering a lot of attention. You've had people watch the castle, that this now famous flying castle, show up, and word has started to get around. So,
would you like us to provide a distraction for you, or you good with all this attention?
For what? I mean, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
As long as you're fine.
I'm fine.
Would you like us to provide a spotlight for you then?
No, I'm good. I just want to go and make sure my mom's okay. That's all.
All right. Let's go.
And he's like looking around and stuff as he's walking through to see if anybody even like notices that it's him, because he grew up there, but he's different now.
I think people notice. I mean, or like there's you stand out regardless, right? So people will definitely notice you whether or not they recognize you. But I think also there's the gossip mill has like spun up. People are saying, "Oh my gosh, it's the pocket protectors. They're here in Gorn. What are they doing here? Oh wait, didn't one of our own guy?" Because I think probably like as you all became famous, this idea that's like, hey, hometown boy Evan Cresseldown is part of that team, and people are going like, really, that guy? And he's like, yeah.
Like, that guy? Seriously? He was such a wuss before. Now he's all buff. He comes in like,
Mm-hmm.
This feels very much like like in Stardust when he goes back home after
Mm-hmm.
being on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So, yep, I'm just gonna make my way. I'm just like
Yeah.
tip my helmet.
So I think that as you're walking through town on the way there, you do pass. There is a young elven bard on a street corner playing a lute, and she's singing, "My lute was inside of a pig, but not because he was big. You see, we got small. He had swallowed us all. A magical hole he did dig. The pocket protectors were there. They showed up with time they could spare to rescue poor me, but of course for a fee, a magical tower so rare. I told them that I was a bard, and their reputations were marred. They escaped from Pashan, and before they moved on, they made sure that they left me a card."
I applaud thunderously.
I don't. So a few minor corrections.
Relatively accurate, really.
All things being considered, it's a different point of view on the story, but yeah.
Would you like to hear the other one?
Are
A little
you
story.
coming up to like, because I think that she's performing and doesn't see you right away.
I will gradually kind of ease my way to like within her eyesight.
Yeah, I think as she does, there's at first there's a shock of like, "Oh my gosh, it's you! Oh my gosh, it's you! Who cares? It's me." That sort of like, because again, this was a long time ago, but basically her departing attitude was, "Thank you for saving me. Is it okay if I write a song about you? Actually, I can write a song about what happened to me, right? Like, I don't need your permission for that. I can write a song about what happened to me." That was basically where she left.
Well, I mean that was a lovely retelling of that, but I have a different version if you'd like to hear it.
And I think she's hesitating, but then everybody else in the crowd is applauding. She's like, of course, of course. That's what great bards do, is they listen to each other's songs.
So here we go. Y'all haven't heard this one. In Gorn I happened one day to come across quite the fray. A big drunken brute made off with a lute, which a bard was determined to play. For she could not sing without those strings, nothing else would do. Looking high and low, her tears did flow until the pig did spew. The lute, it seemed, was swallowed by swine whose inside seemed hollowed, and no rational thought could calm the distraught, and down the beast's throat she soon followed. For she could not sing without those strings, nothing else would do. Looking high and low, her tears did flow until the pig did spew. But what can a bystander do, though, when a swine just refuses to let go? Set aside all your doubt, even if they're a lout. Feed it something to cause it to blow. For she could not sing without those strings, nothing else would do. Looking high and low, her tears did flow until the pig did spew. We searched within a spewed tower for the bard who acted quite dour. Even magically tiny, she was still oh so whiny, and it took every ounce of willpower, for she could not sing without those strings, nothing else would do. Looking high and low, her tears did flow until the pig did spew. So we found a way to grow her, even if I just wanted to throw her. Though she sneered at my flute, we found her stupid lute and returned it to its sobbing owner. For she could not sing without those strings, nothing else would do. Looking high and low, her tears did flow until the pig did spew. We looked high and low as her tears did flow until the pig did spew. Fin.
Bravo, bravo.
Brava, brava, and more thunderous applause.
We've got our Seikami and Kendrick versus Drake here. I think that there is an element where, like, looking a little bit flustered, she just says, "And everybody thank the great Carolina Swift for her brief appearance here in Gorn today. We all love to have traveling bards pass through, and now you all know the story of my lute." But you can see that there's a little bit of gritted teeth in that smile, and she's looking.
Yeah,
at you
same.
Like, yeah.
Bye.
So, moving on. So Evan, I don't know. I think you are headed back to your house. What does Evan's house look like?
It's a little small. It's just him and his mom, so it's just like a little cottage style house, like sort of on the edge of the main town area.
Yeah. Your mom wanted you to be a candle maker.
She did, but I wanted to be a spy.
Yeah.
Came to blows on that a few times.
So I think that you are you're basically like approaching down the street, from the cottage, when she actually you see her from a distance come out, like she is excited. She's maybe heard something, and she's coming out to like look around, but she, just as she reaches sort of like the front gate, she spots you approaching too, and just puts her hands to her face, and she is taking you in, and her eyes seem like they're welling up.
Hey, Mom. I should have wrote you a note or something, but I didn't have a lot of time, and it's been really busy. But I'm back for a little bit to see you, make sure you're doing okay, see if you need anything.
She approaches, still looking almost like a little bit in disbelief, just because you look so different. It's not like she can't tell it's you, but you've got fancy armor and magic weapons and eyeliner.
My hair grew out.
And so she just kind of like reaches out to like just touch your shoulder, like she's almost not sure you're real, but then she comes in for a hug, and yeah, so there's just a big hug that's just wordless for a minute, and then she starts just like banging on your shoulders, like, "Why didn't you write to me? Why didn't you let me know where you were? You made me find out from gossip that my son was out having strange adventures fighting monsters and in a flying castle. I mean,
Yeah.
What was I supposed to think?"
I mean, I would have told you. I didn't know I was going to go, but like then the revolution happened, and
I thought
I
you
had
had
to.
run off with criminals. And I guess technically you did, but then I don't know. I heard you were captured and arrested, and then I heard you were, uh, traveling across to find a mysterious island that I thought was a legend, but I guess now it's not a legend, and then you're going to other planes.
Yeah, yeah, that happened. Yeah, and also I kind of found God.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was really nice. I really liked her a lot. And yeah, I kind of work for her now. So,
This was a, a like a girl you met.
yeah, but also not. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to explain. She didn't even know what she was, but
What-
she was
Her,
pretty amazing.
her her name was God. I'm not sure I follow.
No, no, her name for a while was Zaleen. Um, but now she's Lady Nightshade.
I don't understand, but there's a lot you've done that I don't understand, and I was so worried for you for some time. I kept dreaming every night of finding that you'd been uh, hurt or even killed in some terrible fight, but then I heard what had happened, and everything felt lighter, and somehow I just started dreaming of you out there in the world, making it a better place.
That was all
Are
I ever wanted to do anyway.
are you home to stay?
Um, I mean, they're gonna make me help clean up, even though like they made most of the mess. I really just came in sort of at the end and helped out with the big battle and stuff. But I don't think I can stay.
You're so grown up. This is the boy I couldn't get to clean his room on threat of death.
Yeah, I know. But I finally grew up. Took me a lot longer than it takes everybody else, but I guess when you find something you really believe in, it's worth becoming a man for.
I understand. And I would not want to keep you from making the world a better place.
I'll visit and stuff.
Well,
But
what
and
you'll
like
do is you'll visit and you'll keep me informed. You will let me know. You will communicate like a responsible human being who loves their mother. And doesn't
I
want her
know,
to-
I know, I will.
All right.
Christiana does perturbed mothers so well.
I know. Great. I was like I was so hoping you were gonna like pound on him a little
I was about, it's like she
after
grabs you by
hugging.
your armor lapels, is shaking you.
um I think I'm gonna be here for a little while after we take care of the things that we need to wrap up. But I'm gonna come back here and I think I'm gonna build a temple here.
Well,
And
it's no flying castle, but your old bedroom is, well, I'll have to move some stuff out of it, but it's
you
available
put your
for
sewing machine in there again?
Well, there's so much more room in there when you're not there. I will move it back out. I will move it back out.
It's
I mean,
okay.
it's
I
really
can.
only taking up half the room anyway. I mean, you don't. If you're just staying for a little while, I could. Well, oh, I'll move it out.
It's okay. I'm a lot bigger than I was before I left. I've been working out a lot, so um, like I can. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But do you want to maybe meet my friends and um,
She's looking at all of you and just saying, I would love to invite all of you for dinner. Where I have some extra stew I could put on. She's a little looking in awe at all of you a little bit.
What kind of stew?
Potato.
That sounds wonderful. Please,
you,
if
you
you
need
do have some extra, that would be fantastic. I wonder if you could help me later, maybe find some children that I met the last time that we were here when we first met Evan. This is Buster, and um,
I reach
they-
out and catch her as she faints.
Well, so I think the thing is that I think Buster's presence in town became a little bit of a local infamous legend, right? Because there was
Yeah.
a whole thing where these kids had made friends um, with him before, and before Zinhorn ended up kind of taking him away, because there was some concern, as you may recall, that Buster was being used as part of a bit of a scheme to try to tempt some kids away.
Mhm.
That was eventually decided by all involved that perhaps the kids would stay in Goron instead of being spirited away to, I mean, in the Hag's defense, they probably would have liked the Endless Waltz.
True, they probably would have liked
Yeah.
it, but
But their parents would have been
That's-
sad.
they would have been.
Anyway.
Anyway, I thought they might like to
Yeah.
catch up with Buster while we were here.
I will confess, I did not look, of all of the things that I looked up in my notes to be able to reference immediately, I don't have the names of those kids. However, I think probably they could be found. And I think they would be very happy to see Buster. And
Wasn't that the one that we played the kids?
Mhm.
yes,
Starla and I were like brother and sister or something.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Because
Or no, we were sisters.
It's because Paul wasn't there when we did the episode where the rest of you got swallowed by the pig. And so we had to have what was Zinhorn doing during that time? And so, yeah.
He was stealing pets from children. That's what he was doing.
Yeah. That was the one where I was like, I'm like Nellie Olson. I'm like a total brat. I don't remember what my name was though. Probably Nellie Olson.
Holy Nelson.
Willie
Wil-
Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
Holy Nelson, but Willie Nelson would also work.
Anyway, so yes, I think that I'm just suddenly I'm amused to myself because I felt like I was setting you all up to say, rather than all of us bundle into your little house to eat all of your potato soup, why not you come and join us on this flying castle where we have great food and a big table, and but you can go in and
It's
have
my
potato
mom's.
soup. Yeah.
It's
I
my
mean,
mom's.
Nedry's always been interested in new flavors, so
Yeah.
hmm
I think
You
you,
never ate a
find that
potato
this is
before?
this is not a particularly new flavor. I think it is,
Mhm.
it is perfectly suitable, serviceable, ordinary potato soup with not enough salt.
Doesn't even
She's
have a
on
Cornish hen in it.
No, but it's probably flavored with bacon from one of the local pigs that
Mm.
they tried to keep from getting too big.
Well, this town has 2 famous pigs now,
Yeah.
right? So,
Oh God,
Yep.
mhm.
that's right. This is where is it Richard?
Robert
Robert.
Baratheon.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh God, something about the
Oh.
pigs in
I have a
this
song
area.
about that too.
Yeah, so yeah, the tavern does still have, like, it has a little shrine to him with a little like impression of his hoof marks and a little mural painted of him. But yeah, now Freckle is also a kind of a little celebrity pig.
Oh boy.
That some pig.
The pig that once ate an entire tower.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. But
Pigs have been an ongoing theme for us.
yeah. Sure.
For me, especially.
Hmm.
I actually still, like, now that you mention it, like, at that time, James actually bought me this little stuffed pig all covered in mud that we called Robert.
Aw.
Nice.
And I saw it the other day in the craft room when I was in
Yeah.
there. I was like, oh my God, it's Robert.
That was such a delightful whole part of that last campaign, just especially just because the introduction of Robert Baratheon into the campaign was all of you deciding to go get a pig to eat, and then just spontaneously deciding he was too cute to eat and he's your pet now. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that I'm
Wasn't
sure that
he from the Golden Plains though?
Well, you
Ushbithra?
were. That's
No.
where you were originally when you were.
Oh,
getting your-
right.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
wasn't
We were
like a
getting
Golden Plains
supplies.
pig, other than just you were at
Right, and we
Ushby
left
for
him
that
in Gorn.
city. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Gotcha.
we were running from
The Lord of the Hunt.
Lord of the Hunt
Hmm.
with Robert.
Yeah.
And it was like, I had to keep making lame strength saving
Mhm.
throws because I was so
So you
weak
guys
and he
trauma
was
bonded
so-
is what you're saying.
Yes. Anyway, so yes, lingering reminders of the history of this place for sure. So Equitas. I think at some point in this period, you do start getting messages from representatives of the Eternal Scholars of the Amplified Mind, otherwise known as Tessatam, who are eager to solicit an article or an interview or some kind of a feature with you. Obviously, there's so much interesting magic involved with everything that you were involved with. They would very much like to hear any pitches you may have, or if you would just be prefer that you could just be the subject of a feature written by one of their primary authors. They want to be in the Equitas business. Obviously, you have to tell them that you're Equitas now, but they are unperturbed by this change.
yeah, he would consider each of the correspondences carefully and
Mhm.
write a measured response back. Probably overcommitting to every single one of those
Mhm.
at some point, and then realizing he needs a calendar, and
Mhm.
it gets kind of hectic. So probably what happens very commonly is, as the last few days of traveling together, there is just an endless flurry of paper planes that keep flying in, or paper cranes technically, that fly in and land near Equitas as all the
Mhm.
correspondence starts flowing back and forth.
Yeah.
And he has to pick up a new roll of them himself.
Mm-hmm. They do. One of them does let you know that they had received a submitted article from Argos Finster that was basically supposed to be like a tell-all of Nedry's apprenticeship under him, and they were letting you know, it's like we're sending you this draft because although we would be interested in publishing it because people do want to know about your background, we would not want it to jeopardize any future articles or features we might have with you. And so if you would prefer us to not publish this article, we would defer to your decision on that.
Yeah, he's a very firm believer in balance, so we'd say go ahead and publish it, and he'll publish a response.
So I think basically you read the article that he's written, and it is very much I'm taking credit for this young man who came to me a mess and left prepared to change the world thanks to his tutelage.
Yeah, I think he would do a point by point breakdown of wherever the inaccuracies are. He'd give him credit for both the things he did learn from him, the endless amounts of tedious work that he had to do for him. All the copying of scrolls lent to his much better, quicker ability to write himself accurately. And then, kind of in the way that he's done with academics numerous times, his response would be written in a way where he's congratulating Finster for all the flaws he had to teach him the things that he shouldn't do, and all the limitations that Finster displayed that inevitably Nedry had to overcome in order to actually progress further in the field, and the limited vision that he had, which allowed Nedry to see how much more there was to learn. So it's a very backhanded, carefully written thank you PFO kind of thing. And he's particularly proud of that. In fact, I think at some point he will consult with Lynn to get some of the terminology in an almost lyrical way, and potentially even end it with a rhyming couplet, just 'cause. That's the one magic he doesn't really have any clue about, but he's trying.
Well, I can do rhyming.
Nice. So, do we think we're ready to zoom out a bit, even a bit more? A little bit like, coming weeks and months instead of days?
I'll have one thing I want to go back to, but it will
Sure.
fit more at the end.
Okay. So I think that there is, Yubert does eventually want to return to Pashan. He does feel like, he does have some desire to help shape Pashan's future, and his increased influence and reputation there is something that he feels is, it would be irresponsible for him to ignore that when he could do something and try to help make Pashan a better place. And although Purity is less interested in politics, she is supportive. She's still very much like adjusting to being back in the material plane, but has a support network around her to help with that. I think at a certain point they do end up actually hiring a proper staff again, as opposed to Brennan just being the only one who stuck around when everyone else stopped getting paid. But Brennan himself, it's been a little while since we had this conversation too, but he had kind of confessed that he had maybe actually been in love with Yubert a little bit, but had to kind of realize that's, Yubert didn't think of him that way and had his own love. And so Brennan, I think, decided that it was time for him, now that Yubert is well taken care of, it's time for Brennan to maybe strike out and be on his own a little bit. to find out what he wants to be next. And at the very least, what he decides that he's going to do is he gets a job at a bakery.
See, I would think Yobert could have bankrolled him to open his own, but
Well,
maybe he's got stuff to learn.
That it absolutely would have been offered, but he didn't want to start this new endeavor by owing a lot of, money to the person he's leaving behind a little bit. I think that Yobert absolutely would have offered, but it's this sort of like, that the whole point is for him to kind of go off and be on his own a little bit. I think that Sequential eventually decides to sort of set up sort of a inventor's lab / fix-it shop for machinery. And in particular, now that there are more sentient constructs in Sekamian, some of whom do come to settle in Pashan, he becomes a bit of a, fix-it shop for, their mechanical parts. And he is able to have a rapport with them that they don't always manage with purely biological people. So I think that is part of what he's got going on. Looking at the rest of my notes here. I think at some point, Lynn, would you have tried to look up and say hi to Siona /
Probably, but that's a
Question
little
mark?
complicated now.
Well, I think what ends up happening is that if at some point you do return to that little house, when you had attempted any sort of a magical communication, it doesn't get you a response. But then when you return to the little house outside the city, it seems to have been largely kind of packed up and cleaned up, and no one currently there. But there is a note that says, "So proud of you. Maybe you'll see me again, but will you recognize me?" And that's all it says.
Well, yeah, I would probably go there by myself too. And yeah, just because it's a little complicated trying to explain that. Still trying to wrap my own head around it. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, noted, and still has it's the person that raised me, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Zinhorn, I think that at some point tell me like what you would have spent like the next couple of weeks doing.
He's really neglected his duties. He needs to get back to the orphanage and make sure things are going along well there. Figure out his new place in the hierarchy. He is level 20 now, not level 1. And so
outrank Father Wilfram a little bit now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the church hierarchy is, something he understands, but he doesn't know this particular level of echelon where he is, and it's only been a couple of weeks. He still has a lot to learn.
Well, there's been a lot of progress made on the renovations of the old Reclaimer Mansion, which it's been a while too for this. Remember, you technically owned and donated, so it's being renovated into a larger, like orphanage and home and activity center and school and kind of all the sorts of things that a big house like that might be suitable for. And so there's a lot of active construction on it still going on, but several parts of it have already been refurbished enough that there are people living there already. And there's a lot of discussion and of especially now that I don't think the followers of Rushama see the followers of Solomonia as really like competition or rivals exactly. That's kind of never been Rushama's not like jealous in that way. But it's certainly true that it's kind of like, how can we continue to, serve the ideals that we believe in where they might not always align completely with
Mm-hmm.
Solomonia's. And so I think that there's like discussions of that, and there's a lot of sort of, without wanting to say it's not important, there's a lot of sort of tedious administrative sorts of discussions happening. And a lot of that is still also like, well, the world seems to be changing in ways that we don't fully understand. I think as time has gone on, it's increasingly clear that the boundary between the realm of dream and the material plane is quite a bit thinner than it once was, and things do still come through these little tears, and like sometimes they're scary, like dreams can be scary, and sometimes they're not, but it's not always really obvious, like what might come through on any given day, and how do you even really understand what those things are. And so there's a lot of discussion of like, how do we tell children about this? Like, what do we want to say about it? What lessons do we need children to understand about the world as it's changing? But as you're kind of helping with that process, are you sleeping at like quarters at the orphanage again, or where you think you're staying?
Um, I mean, he understands at some point we're all going to drift off, but he doesn't want to be the first.
So he's still
S-
returning to Sunya. That's totally
Still,
fine. Yeah.
still returning to Sunya.
Hmm.
We have,
I think
uh,
it gives you a little bit of a commute, which is fine. But
yeah,
yeah, you get to walk through the city and up through the Skyport Tower. And, yeah.
right.
Um, I think though that one night though are returning, and you discover under your pillow there is an envelope. It looks very fancy and in embossed gold leaf print. It says Zinhorn Windborn on it.
Okay. Uh, I will ask Sunya if she was aware of anyone dropping this off.
Dropping what off?
This envelope that I just found under my pillow.
You found it. You found it here?
Yes,
I don't know. I didn't notice anything.
that's what I wanted to know before I opened it up. I don't think that it's any kind of a trap, um, but just in case, I'll go up to the roof. Wouldn't want.
I want to see what's inside too.
Well, you are welcome to follow me up there. If something does happen, I wouldn't want it to hurt you. And I'll take a moment to cast aid and bless on myself and then open it.
Sure. Inside, on very, very fancy paper, is a card that says, "You are cordially invited to attend the Endless Waltz and to stay for as long as you like." And then in parentheses below, +1 permitted.
Mm. +1. Well, that would have to be Buster. If it were more, I would invite the others, and certainly Trendonell and Rupino and Tilitha. I will mention to my friends that I'm going to go visit my parents in the morning, and let them know that I'm going to bring Buster with me. And I'll cast Word of Recall in my favorite spot on the roof. And then open up the card, say, "We accept. We'd like to come visit now, if that's all right with you."
So, from the perspective of everyone else, you you find that well, I guess Zinhorn, would you have just like done that right in front of everybody, or do you kind of just go back up to a
Oh,
moment of
yeah.
privacy? Okay.
Yeah.
I think everyone finds that like you feel sort of just like your eyes are blurring and you're sort of like magically compelled to look away, and when you look back, Zinhorn and Buster are just gone. And so let me just briefly address Paul as opposed to Zinhorn the character. As we have, visited the Endless Waltz before, and it's been a long time, but this is, of course, a realm that is created by creatures similar to Archfey, that is intended to be a sort of heaven, right? It is a place where those who reside there are given basically anything that they might want for as long as they want to stay there, and it's just sort of a endlessly personalizable, customizable realm of whatever you want it to be. And your parents are there, among others. It's where Buster is originally from. And I want to ask Paul, regardless of what his intention might have been before, does Zinhorn come back?
Yeah. Zinhorn still has a lot to do in the real world, and his parents gave him the gift of life, and he's been father to many, and doesn't think that that needs to stop. In fact, would be nice if some of them were his own.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need to be if that doesn't happen, but would be nice.
So I wonder, do you think that Zinhorn does understand a little better his parents wanting to stay there?
I, having been through some very tough times, he understands the impetus, and he has seen enough broken people um, that he certainly understands that there are things that you can go through um, that would make this place undeniably the most appealing choice. But it's, at least right now, it's not the right choice for him.
I think that we can perhaps allow the experience there to be, off camera, so to speak. But regardless, you are certainly able to reconnect. Zinhorn, you are able to reconnect with your parents and stay as long as you like. How long do you think that might be? It's obviously subjective, your sense of time when you're in there.
Not very long. Just long enough to see Mom fight a battle.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a meal with his folks, and let them know that, you know, the world is safer than it was the last time they saw him, and he got to help.
Mm-hmm.
And who's the member of the original people that put the
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 It was the
druid,
druid.
yeah.
yeah.
I was wanting to say seltzer. I don't think that's right. Let's see. That is not. Yeah. I can have that in a moment.
Anyway, I don't remember his name, but I let him know that things have been resolved. Seltzer.
Mm-hmm.
That things have been resolved, and the source was the pillar and the rage of the Titans, that final
Mhm.
Titan,
Mm-hmm.
and we got it all straightened out. And thank him for delaying everything long enough for him to be born and the others to be born, and for us to be in the right place to pick up where they left off.
Mm-hmm.
And then tell his folks that, you know, if they ever have any grandkids, he'll come visit.
I think as you're getting ready to leave, you know, everyone you kind of talk to there seems really sad, in a way that, like, the vibe is you are voluntarily going to a place where you're going to have a worse time than you would if you stayed here. And that seems like sad, but they understand. And I think the host, the being that sort of runs this whole place, does look to you and kind of just clucks his tongue and says, "Well, when you are ready to return, you will know, and your invitation will remain good."
I thank you, and thank you for looking after my parents. I will look after Buster as long as I am able.
We don't usually extend repeat invitations. I hope you understand that this is because you have made this world outside of the Endless Waltz a place where there will be less suffering than there would have been otherwise. And that is something I respect.
I thank you for the invitation and for the respect. And I will see you again someday.
Very nice.
And internally to my head, I'm like, Zaylene gave me the tuning fork. I can come back here anytime I want to, lady. You can't keep me out.
Well, okay.
Well, that's in his head.
Sure.
He's not saying that out loud.
I'm just saying that the realm of this this place is such that you would it would be ill-advised to try to be there against the wishes of the host.
Probably.
Because you do recall when you were last here too that the really nice part is the sort of, the out front part. There's the behind the scenes that's not as nice for, it's because it's where you do the work as opposed to for the guests. Right. Anyway, it was briefly touched on earlier, but I'm going to imagine that at some point that Taroka deck gets brought back out, Isildur's deck, and you would just sort of gradually work your way through the
that's a lot of nightmares.
And I think though that at your level, although we could imagine potential future one shots being fun of taking out some of those things, we can just sort of say you get several exciting fights worth of that before the last two would be the Archmage of the Reclaimer's Mansion that Isildur herself sealed away before sealing herself away, who I don't know if you fight her or if you have her arrested or what.
Well, I think that depends on the disposition when they're released from the deck.
I think that they don't really have a sense of time passing when they're in there. But in any case, I don't know that it's terribly important. You didn't really ever know that character. But Isilda, you of course know that she went in there mortally wounded. And you had a sort of dream conversation with her where she was the one that told you all how you could actually bring down the barrier. She had spent her life trying to protect it, only to gradually come to the conclusion that that was not just, it was not right to keep it up that way because of the people who were also trapped in there with whatever evil there was. And so your last sort of communication with her was that. But I think now that the time has come to you are able to release her from the deck, and where would you do this? You certainly know when it's going to be her and not some other monsters that surprises you.
That's a good question. I wonder if she would be more familiar with like the Temple of Marushka, like the like previous, or if, because I feel like bringing her out at the Reclaimer's Mansion might be a bad idea.
It was not a happy memory
No,
for her.
no. But I mean, we could also just do it at the castle.
Sure. I mean, it can be wherever you want.
I mean, we have
just
people
setting
that
the
can do
scene.
the healing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to be a doctor very much during the game, but I'm also a doctor.
I think though that you bring her out and she is just sort of immediately like sort of kneeling on the ground. She's bleeding. She looks weak, and I think as you would be approaching to heal, she says, "If you could remove the pain, I would accept that, but I'm ready. My life has been a series of misadventures and mistaken purpose, and I do not mean to suggest that I am giving up feeling a failure, but rather just that I believe it is my time. It is long past my time."
So, based on interactions with Celine and having learned from her, and I know what she's lost, what she's given up, I think I would definitely respect that. And I would probably sit next to her and try to soothe her as much as possible with potentially a familiar song.
Is this something
just
that
kind of
everyone would be there? Is
Yeah.
Evan there too? Just Evan can participate in this too if he sees fit. Although
so
I
yeah,
don't
it
know
would
that Evan really ever, she didn't really know anyone but you.
So yeah, and I don't think it would even like I wouldn't even have the mandolin, nothing like that, just singing with her. And I would do the A Tear at Dawn, because that holds significance. So where did you go so long ago? When shall I see you again? For the sea cries at sunrise, a tear at dawn for my home. So just do the chorus. I already sang the whole song, so but yeah. So I would go through that and
And it it doesn't happen right away or anything, but she's made more comfortable. And then, she talks a little bit about, what she remembers and just, her whole, she was in the deck for like the last 85 years, so it's not like she really uh, knows a lot about the current events beyond what you kind of tell her, but she sort of seems to just understand what's going on, and she's just sort of, you know, ready to, yeah, ready to move on. And eventually she does. And let's see, I think when she does, um, the deck loses its magic.
I want to make
yeah.
sure that she is interred alongside. What's his name? I know I wrote it down.
Well, Alistair was the,
Alistair, yeah.
mhm,
So together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I think uh, that kind of has my the bulk of my little sort of loose ends that I wanted to tag us on. But so I would say, like, what does each of you sort of go on to do next? What do you sort of set yourself to next?
I think Evan leaves first.
Hmm.
Just sort of slips out one day and doesn't come back. Not in a cruel way, just he's just ready to kind of get started on the things that he wants to do.
Hmm.
Start building temples and raising awareness and dedicating himself to this life of service that he's chosen. I think he'll
Starts.
send out like occasional letters to everybody just to keep in touch, but like he is, I think he would be the first one to just leave and just not come back.
I think Lynn would probably not be far behind, especially after that last experience with Isildo.
Hmm.
And I think she would make her way to Emerald Arboris, and she would find a guide to take her to the Shadowfell because she has someone she wants to see.
Hmm.
And her whole purpose for doing this is that she found a purpose in her music, an ability to bring comfort to people, like in their last moments, and especially like in her time with Zaylene. Maybe they can't, be together in the traditional sense, but she can still give what she can
Hmm.
to the person that she loved. And so I don't know exactly like how it would happen, but essentially she would dedicate herself to Lady Nightshade's service and become not necessarily a herald of death, but when the end approaches, especially with her ability to change her form, can take on an appearance that is most comforting to the person that will be departing. And that will become her new purpose in life. Serving death, sort of. Helping people transition.
Sure.
It's probably Ekotas next, but he'll still be in Bashan
Hmm.
because it is one of the centers of learning, and with both the university there and some of the higher members of Tassotam also live there. So it's not exactly like he leaves suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just at some point he doesn't stay there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And his books start migrating to the bookshelves at other places he's staying, or stay into the bag that he carries, his Ilds bag, actually, still, if it's still working. And so there's never an intention at that point to leave. It just sort of he more fades away from that area. Although he would, because he's still in the city, come to see his brother, Zinhorn, as often as he can get away. Probably being mistaken by half the kids as one of the kids, which he doesn't fit there either, but he'll try. Ends up casting magic they probably shouldn't see. Maybe occasionally freezing some of the kids to the wall because they get annoying because they're kids. But trying not to do too much. I have a button that I do want to present afterwards, though.
Zinhorn is going to get a feel for how Buster likes being in the city, already knowing how well he does out, in the farmland, out in the wilderness. And if it looks like Buster would thrive in Pashan, he we'll find out if they've got someone slated to start learning the job of running the new orphanage. And, just throw himself into the life of service that he's been in since, being rescued by the orphanage here. And, keeping his eye out for someone to share his life in, and, helping people when they're in need.
So I do have one last finishing thing, but do you have you want to get to your thing?
Sure, it's a moment that I want to have.
Sure.
And I feel like while we're all still gathered together at the castle, there have been numerous discussions we have over what people are planning to do, what the situation is, things people are thinking about. And there comes one day at one of the meals where there just seems to be a sudden look on Equitas's face, and he excuses himself and disappears for about 3 hours. And he finds these three later on, pulls them together on the roof, just the three plus him. It occurs to me that while we've been traveling together for quite some time, I feel like we're all finding different roads we need to travel on now. Some farther away than others. And aside from my own family, I haven't spent this much time with people like all of you. And I wanted to mark that somehow. So I was thinking, my magic is still small, like me. I can only do so many things. But I've had an idea for an experiment for a while, and I think this will work. And he reaches into the bag and he pulls out 3 things. He walks over to Zin. Zin? Zinhorn? My brother from another world, really. More dragon than I'll ever be, but the dragon I'd like to be. I know you. I've known all of you, but one of the things that I've always liked is how much you care for others. And I don't know whether you're going to go back to the orphanage. I don't know whether that's going to be the place you end up.
but I know you're always going to be looking after others. And, well, I can't do a lot, but this might help.
And he hands you a compass. It's a relatively simple brass compass. It does have a stamp on the back from Zicky's.
I'll explain in a moment. For you, Lynn, I wanted to give you something less academic than I usually do, but something that I feel you would find an appreciation for. So here,
And he hands you a sturdy looking, but also at the same time delicate looking black glass rose.
I'll explain in a minute. Evan, I haven't known you as well, but I still respect what you've done and how you've changed. And I believe you can do a lot more than you even think you can, but I know that you worry from time to time about what you know. So I got you this.
And he hands you a book with a beautiful crystalline inlay on the front, very complicated image. And if you happen to glance through the book, you notice the book is entirely empty.
Okay. This is not magic I've really had a lot of practice with, but I'm pretty sure that I got it right. I apologize if it explodes. It probably won't. But inside each of those, I've placed a magical glyph. It only works once. I don't have the ability to make anything really fancy. For you, Lynn, I know that you like to talk to people, and you probably even have this ability yourself, but I thought it might be nice to give you an easy chance at some point if you needed to speak with anybody anywhere, or more likely sing to them. So within the rose, I've added the spell Tongues, which should allow you to understand and speak to anyone. It will only last for an hour, but it's all I can give you at a distance. For you, Evan, that's not a bookmark in the back of the book. If you unfold it, it's actually a lifetime subscription to Tazotam. So those will start appearing fairly soon. They're a little esoteric, but if you write in a letter to them about any weird problem you might be encountering, they should be able to provide some advice. And it should make for interesting reading or kindling if you don't really find it interesting. But as for the book itself, I put a glyph on that one too. If you're in time of need and you're uncertain about what you're doing, think upon the book and then read it. It'll provide you with whatever knowledge I might have, maybe even knowledge I don't have. It draws from the very weave itself. And for an hour, you will know what you need to know. And it should help you with a rough spot. Again, I wish I could do it more. And for you, Zinhorn, you always look over people. But people aren't always that good at being looked over, and some of us tend to wander a little bit more than we should. So in an emergency, you can activate the glyph, and it will find the person you're looking for, or give you a chance to find them.
Mechanically, it's glyph of warding with tongues, borrowed knowledge, and locate creature.
I don't know where I'm going to be going next, or even who I'm going to be. That's something I've been questioning for a long time. I've found a balance of sorts, but there's still so many more things to learn. But I'll never forget any of you. And if you see Zaylene again, although she can probably hear me, I don't know how that works. Give her my thanks. I'd offer her one of these, but there's nothing I could offer her which would be of any significance compared to what she can do now, what she is now. I had asked a question when we first met Zaylene. Who are you? And the funny thing is, she answered it in a way that I never expected, based on who she is now. So, anyway, I'll see you around, I guess. And it just sort of goes quiet and kind of leans in and just tries to wrap the three of you in a hug, which is very difficult with very short arms. So it's kind of an awkward thing.
I think probably fortunately for you, I think you'll probably have help.
Yep, most assuredly.
I still don't like the name, but I've come to my peace with it.
So, Lady Nightshade. It's been an experience so far. It is difficult to fully comprehend, even for you, everything that you now find yourself aware of, capable of. It's been an adjustment, to say the least. You find that your influence on the cosmos is such that everything feels fragile and precarious and delicate around you. It is difficult to intervene directly because you have this intuitive sense that anything you touch will suffer tremendous ripples and waves of unintended consequence as a result. You are especially aware of that at the moment because although you understand in an intuitive way now that Solomonia's intentions were benevolent, nonetheless, the planes are in a turmoil now that leaves them all the more unstable and subject to further disruption should you act unwisely. But that's just the same. You understand now that this is your domain now. You are in charge of this now. And although you have your predecessor to thank for that, you are no longer bound to do things the way that she did. But it's a delicate balance. So I guess the first question really just is, you making any changes?
I think it would take her a long time to find the courage to make any changes from the way things were, because she was so devoted and comfortable with the way things were. And that difficult balance of things right now is kind of scary. Getting that sort of backlash when she did interfere and felt it ripple out through like everything. She's kind of like, I'm gonna take my time with this. I have time now, and I'm gonna do it right. So I don't think she would make any changes, especially not right away.
Understandable. I mean, and it's not like you're on a timetable, anyone's but your own. So no pressure there. But I think you are aware of, at least in a way that's somewhat removed to the way you used to sense them, but you're aware of the friends you've left behind. And I think there's a part of you now that can't help but have a different perspective on those relationships, because now they are just this tiny, tiny little piece of an interconnected web that includes billions and billions of souls all the time. But nonetheless, they are special to you. You, as a former mortal of sorts, did have a special connection to them. And, you know, just because you have received a substantial promotion doesn't mean you have to forget about that. I think you're probably aware, certainly, of Evan doing work to serve you and to build a new temple for you. And I think you're aware of Lynn traveling to the Shadowfell and looking to find ways to serve you in her own way, too. And I think perhaps maybe the time is not right to intervene again, because you just, there's a sense that maybe it's not time, or maybe there's uncertainty. What could keep the cosmos stable? What could you do? What should you do? And you realize that you, of course, could do anything you wanted. It's just that whatever you do will have effects. Do you find some way to communicate at all or do anything?
I think that one thing that she would definitely do once things have settled down and that she senses everyone's sort of gone their own way, I think that she would find Zinhorn in a state where he was trying to mimic like what she was doing with the Mistress of the Dark herself, with the communication, and just sort of reach out to him in that way so that he feels what it feels like to have that kind of connection, so he can try to forge one with Rashama. But I don't think she would make it obvious so much. Like, there wouldn't be like a conversation like the way she used to talk to the Mistress of the Dark, but just sort of like that reaching hand to let him know, like, it's real, you can do it. I don't think she would do it all at once, but I think that she would try to pay a visit to like everybody at least once, with her final one being to Lynn. With Nedry, it would just be sort of watching over him and like laughing at his antics as he's, trying to answer everything in the infinite universe, and just being sort of really proud of Evan and how he came to, face the fear, because he was really scared at first of all of the stuff that we threw at him. We're like, here you go. So seeing like how far he's come, I think she would kind of always be connected to him and Lynn, because they serve her in a way now.
Sure.
So I think when Lynn does come to the Shadowfell, she would find a way to connect with her just long enough to say goodbye in that way that they didn't have the chance to.
So you have a lot of, you could call them duties, I suppose. Your actions as the the goddess of the domain of death is often pretty abstracted, but there are times where it becomes sort of more concrete in special cases. And one of those times is when the soul of Isilda comes through your threshold. And there's a letter that you, in your mortal form, didn't see, but you know from knowing your friends that they saw it. And parts of it are called to mind now. And I'm reading from excerpts from the letter that you all found very early in this campaign. My dearest Isilda, it is my fervent hope that you and I are reading this together and laughing at my foolishness and propensity for melodrama. If that is not the case, then I'm deeply sorry for the distress that finding me may have brought you. I write this with the hope that I may yet escape this trap, but I have my doubts. In the event that I do not succeed, I pray that Marushka's grace will allow you to find me, and that my dying words will not go unread. For above and beyond my wish for final words to you, my love, I have a dire warning. Although I cannot prove my case from within the disposal, I find that I believe that my laboratory was sabotaged, and that my death here was no accident. And skipping forward and so, my dearest, when I have completed this letter, I will attempt to prise the crystal from the disassembler's heart, crushed leg and all. I hope that you are suitably impressed with my gallantry, even if this letter's continued existence suggests an unfortunate outcome. Reminds one of probabilistic incantations with Professor Tinthus, does it not? If I am to die here, know that it is with love for you and for Dinethera in my heart, and a desire to protect you both at any cost. I pray that my warning does not come too late. I pray that you find love and happiness in my absence, and I pray that we will walk together once again when our souls find their eternal rest. But then, I'm sure that we are back in my laboratory, and you are reading this to me aloud, laughing at my blushed cheeks. So then I ask you, please kiss me, and forgive my maudlin sentiment when I thought I might never see you again. I love you. Alistair. This is a letter that in life Isilda never read, never saw. Because when she found Alistair missing, she assumed he was kidnapped and went to the Reclaimer Mansion and never really left it until she was released from the Taroka deck. But now, as you show it to her, she finishes it and looks up, and Alistair's soul is there too. And they do kiss. And then that is the end of our campaign. So, thank you to my players. I had such a great time telling this long story with you. I hope we will tell more in the future. And I suppose, unless anyone has one more last thing you want to say, we can just talk about we'll have more adventure still to come on so many levels.
So many
So
levels.
many levels.
So many.
So
levels.
many levels.
Thank you, Christiana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did such a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I want to
And,
thank all of you.
And thanks to all of you out there in stream or podcast land.